Hi, this is Gary from Trance Audio. Today I'm going to show you how to install our pickups using our new template method and E6000 adhesive. Here you can see everything that's provided with your Amulet Ultra system. And here are some additional items that you'll need to make the process simple and easy. Something to mark with, a pen, pencil of some sort, a ruler, an X-Acto knife with a nice fresh blade on it, a sanding block. Small sanding block is useful. I use a 9-volt battery and some 100 grit sandpaper to wrap around it. A set of scissors to cut the adhesive. Also have some masking tape. I use blue painter's tape most of the time, but you could use any sort of masking tape. The way that we do the installation is you won't need the saddle on the guitar, so you can remove the saddle from the saddle slot on your guitar. Of course, the strings are off. And we take the cardboard that we're going to use to make our template, place it about in the center of the bridge plate, move it up to the top of the bridge pin holes. You're going to use your pen to mark the location of each of those 6 holes. Mark right in the center of each of the holes to show where those strings lie. So once you've got that done, you can use your ruler to draw a line to mark where we're going to place the bridge pins. Move it about 1/4 to 1/2 inch up from the edge. Line it up, use your marker and draw a line. And now that's where we're going to mark our string points. So you can take your pen and transfer where each of those marks that you made for the 6 strings onto the line that you've drawn. So now we're going to use the golf tees to locate this on your guitar. So the 2 outer strings that you've marked, the high E and the low E, you can use something to punch a hole in there to put your golf tees into. That little screwdriver that we provide to adjust the system is very good for this. It has a nice sharp little point on it. So you can punch a hole through where the high E and where the low E string is. And then you can use one of the golf tees that we provide to widen the hole. And that's going to be what holds our template in place once you've finished this process. So use it to push through the cardboard. Don't try to widen the hole, just make a nice hole so it'll fit nice and snug on there. Now, you'll want to mark where the saddle line lies, and this is where we use the tape. If you look at what I'm doing, I take a piece of masking tape and I lay it so it's right in the center of that saddle line on each side. So I line it up and then stick it onto there. So now the tape will show us where the saddle lies on the guitar. It kind of extends the saddle line out on each side so that when we put the template on top, we can still see that at each end of the template. It's not covered up. So take your pen and mark each point on either side where that tape lies. And then once you've done that, you can take your ruler, line those marks up, and use the pen to draw a line between them. Now what you've accomplished here is you now have a line on your template that shows you exactly where the saddle is in relation to those 2 bridge pin holes. Use the double-sided tape. We're going to put some on each of the pickups, and that's what you use to stick the pickups onto this template and align them and mark around them so that we can create a template that holds them in place when we glue them inside the guitar. You can stick the adhesive on there. You can see I use my thumb to kind of run it onto the surface, rub it all around so it's adhered well, and then I use the scissors to slice away the excess tape right along the sides of the transducers. So you go around each of the 4 sides, snip off the 2 sides, the 2 front and back pieces. And when you're done, you have a pickup with a nice piece of adhesive on it that you can use to stick to your template. You do both of the pickups, slice everything away. So now we mark on the template where we're going to place these pickups. For the treble pickup, it's a little bit right to the side, right side of the bridge pin hole. And then the bass side pickup goes in between the A and the D string, about 2/3 of the way towards the D string. You can see in an illustration, it's a little better here, where you can see where those lines fall. The treble or red pickup falls over on the right-hand side, and the blue or bass pickup is on the left-hand side. Now you can see that the blue pickup is the bass side pickup that goes on the left side. The red marked pickup is the treble side. You can peel the paper off of the adhesive and use that adhesive to stick it onto the cardboard. We want to stick it right at the edge of those marks that we made and line it up so that the pickup falls in the center of that saddle line. Now, if it's not quite on there, you can kind of lift one edge up and move it over. Same thing with the other edge until you get both of them where you want and centered on that saddle line. So you can do the bass pickup and the treble pickup. Now, once you've got them stuck in place and you're happy with that, you use the X-Acto knife to outline around the pickup. As you can see from the picture, I'm cutting very close to the edge, as close as I can get to the edge. I'm not really trying to cut all the way through at this point. I'm using the knife to outline where the pickup's going to be on here. So you go each side basically and outline, cut through a little bit, but not necessarily through the whole template at this point. And what you're doing is giving yourself an outline of where those pickups sit. Now when you pull them off, typically they'll pull some of the top layer of the cardboard off with them, and you're left with a nice area that shows you where you want to cut out. I use the X-Acto knife at this point. I'll punch it through the cardboard and use it like a little saw. You can kind of work it forward and cut a very accurate line that follows those cuts that you made in the top part of the cardboard. Your goal here is to create holes that these transducers will fit into fairly snugly. So when you do it like this, once you put the transducers in the hole, they'll stay in place and won't fall out when you go to glue them inside the guitar. That's our goal. So you go through, cut around each of the outlines that you've made for the pickups and remove the remaining piece of cardboard in each of your template holes. As you can see, we've got a nice setup here basically to place the pickups in. So now again, the red pickup goes on the right side and the blue pickup goes on the left side. You peel the adhesive off of them and they go in from the bottom so that the red side is facing up now, because that's where the glue is going to be applied, and when you put it in the guitar, that's the area that's going to stick onto the bridge plate. So here we'll put the treble side red pickup in on the right hand side and the blue on the other side. And if you've cut these nicely, you'll notice that they fit in there, they'll stay in place and won't fall out. And you can see here that they sit probably, you set them up so that they sit midway in the template. That's what you're looking for. So it should look like that when you're done. Now at this point, I'll cut away any extra cardboard around the template, cut away the front and the two sides. You want to make sure that the template is going to fit inside your guitar and that the braces inside aren't going to hit it or impede it when you try to push it into place. So for most guitars, I find that if I trim it like this, trim the edges, trim the sides, and trim the front, that'll set it up so that basically it should fit inside the guitar. Now at this point, it's a good idea to go in and clean the bridge plate on the guitar. I use the sanding block. Sand over the area where the saddle and the bridge pins are. New guitars, there's typically some rough wood poking out of there from when they drilled it. You can use a cloth that's been slightly moistened with water or Windex, wipe it, and that'll clear away any sawdust and stuff that's left behind, and let it dry. So now we put the golf tees in the holes for the low E and the high E string, and we use the rubber grommets that are provided with that. There's two for each side, and you put them on. They hold the golf tees in place, and they also provide a spacer so that when you place your template inside the guitar, It keeps it off of the bridge plate a little bit so that the glue won't stick to the cardboard part of your template, and that makes it easy to remove. Now, this is a good time to practice placing your template inside the guitar. I will place it so that the string or the wires of the pickups fall between my fingers, like that. And then I slide it inside the guitar. I have my fingers a little forward so that I can feel where the golf tee tips are inside the guitar. So once you feel those, you can kind of slide the template over so that the tees fall into the holes in the front of the template. Then you can slide it down and push the pickups onto the bridge plate. It's worth doing this a couple of times to get a feel for this and make sure that you're comfortable with the process of putting it in before you put the glue on the pickups and try to glue them in. So once you've got everything set up, a couple of practice runs will get you very familiar with it. Now we'll move on to putting the glue on the pickups. This is the point where you glue them in. So use the E6000, and I'll put a bead on each of the pickups. Not a tremendous amount of glue. Typically I have maybe a layer that's a 1/16 of an inch or a little more thick. You want enough glue so that the entire surface, the entire red sensing surface of the pickup is covered. And when you push the pickups into place, you want there to be enough glue so that it kind of squishes out all around the pickup a little bit. As you can see here, I run a bead from the bottom to the top. Then I'll use the edge of the tube to kind of smear it around to make sure that all of the red sensing surface there is covered with cement. Now, once you've applied the adhesive, don't wait much more than about a minute or so, because the adhesive begins to set up rather quickly. This is the point where you place the template inside the guitar with the glue. Now your practice pays off here. You're able to place the template correctly and push the pickups down against the bridge plate. Now you want to press firmly, but not so hard to squish all the glue out from underneath them. The idea is you want to leave a little pad of glue underneath these pickups. As you can see, I push down and I kind of squish them around a little bit to make sure that the glue is distributed evenly under both surfaces of the pickups there. And then I'll use my fingers to press them in place against the bridge plate lightly for 10 minutes or so. The adhesive sets up enough in that period of time so that you can now take your hand out, put your guitar inside the case, close it, flip the case upside down, and let it set and let gravity do the work for you, holding those pickups in place for about 6 to 8 hours. If you're familiar with this process, you will be able to do an installation in the morning, let the thing cure throughout the day, and then be ready to go and gig with the guitar by the evening. Once the adhesive is cured, you can reach in through the sound hole and gently lift and remove the template from the golf tees. Slide it along the wires to the outside of the sound hole. Once you have the template on the outside of the sound hole, you can clip the little cardboard space between the two pickup areas to release the template from the wires. In the next video, we'll cover installing the end pin and attaching the preamp inside your guitar.